Hello and good afternoon. Welcome to Integrating eSignature and Payment Solutions with Conga and Certify. My name is Chris Cook. I'm the Director of Business Development here at Conga, and I'm joined today by Laura Johnston, the Director of Sales at Certify. Very happy to have you, Laura. In this webinar today, we're going to cover a few things from a high level and also from a user and administrator perspective. Laura is going to introduce you to Certify, the beginning part of the webinar, and I'm happy to take you through the Conga Certify integration, highlighting some new Conga features, both from a user and from an administrator perspective. We'll be recording this webinar and all the attendees currently are muted. We will make this available on our website after the webinar. We do have time for question and answer at the end, so please do submit your questions in the question box over the course of the webinar, and we will answer those at the end. So without further ado, it's my pleasure to introduce Laura Johnston from Certify.
Thanks, Chris. Good afternoon, everyone. Appreciate you guys all being able to join on this webinar today. Like Chris said, my name is Laura Johnston. I am the Director of Sales here at Certify. I am calling in from our Chicago office, which is actually where our headquarters resides. For those of you who are not familiar with Certify, we are a closing automation solution that enables you to accelerate that last mile of your sales process. At the core, we can collect electronic signatures on any document you're currently emailing out as an attachment or faxing out. We also have a collaboration feature that allows you to collaborate with your customers on the document that you have sent for signature. And then our latest feature, you have the ability to collect payments from your customers in a PCI compliant manner. As you know, security breaches surrounding credit cards have been in the news all too much lately and can be very costly for your company. So we are really excited about this feature to help you guys out, our customers, and to protect you. The next slide, Chris, if you would, you will see some of our wonderful customers that utilize our Certify for Salesforce solution. We work with small to enterprise companies around the world. I will say one thing that we do love working with Conga and our partnership with them just so much because we both focus on what's really important, and that's you guys as a customer. We both strive to exceed expectations in customer service and support. I look forward to your questions here at the end of the webinar and speaking all with you soon. So with that being said, I will give it back over to Chris. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Laura, and I look forward to having you be part of this discussion too, so by no means be shy. Please hop in as we're going through the user experience from the Certify side and also from the Conga side as well. We really want to highlight today some new features in our Conga Composer 8 integration and those features that apply to the Conga Certify process. We're going to cover these today in a couple different formats, but the key features we want to cover today are changes in our background mode, our one-click signature solution from Salesforce through Conga and to Certify. Some changes in this integration. Now we're able to add up to 5 different email signers as part of that signing experience. As part of that, we also have a new parameter that allows your administrators and users to specify a carbon copy signer as well. We have a new integration and new parameters that allow us to define and name the folder for that e-contract as part of the Conga integration. The payment integration as well, you'll see the ability to not only include payment options as part of that signing experience, but also predefining the name and type as well as the amount of those payments through those Conga parameters that we can pass through to Certify. We do have our automated Conga conductor and Conga workflow compatibility that's currently in beta. So that conductor and workflow 8 version is coming soon. I wanted to give you a little idea of what we're going to demo this afternoon. We're going to go through 3 different user options and then also show you on the administrator side the corresponding integration features on the Conga Composer side. The first option today is going to be a undefined straight through the user interface, allowing the users to fill in and select all of those variables. So this would be a very basic kind of start to a Conga Certify solution. Option number 2, we're going to show a predefined Conga solution with those Conga Certify parameters that again allow your users and administrators to predefine that behavior. So the signers, the file naming, all the payment information will be predefined as part of that Conga solution. And for those of you who are Conga customers, this will look very familiar to you. It will be your Conga button with those additional parameters. And then finally, our last demo is going to be a rather quick one because it's a one-click solution with all of those parameters that we've predefined as well, but also a background mode feature that allows that one-click signing option. So I'm going to go ahead and get set with that. I'm going to start in Salesforce on an opportunity as a record, and you'll notice I'm in an opportunity that's called Conga and Certified Demo, coincidentally. You'll see I'm going to do a little bit of housekeeping here. My apologies for not doing that before the demo started, but I want to get rid of some test e-contracts that were on here from earlier. And what we've done is built, this will look very familiar to Composer customers. We've built 3 different Conga Composer buttons that will launch a Conga Composer contract through to the Certify signing piece. And each one of these, you'll notice this is the UI, the predefined option that I mentioned, and also the one-click option as well. What we're going to be able to do then is take and use the contact role naming conventions. Also, all this information will go into a specific contract and proposal template via Conga and Certify. So let me go ahead and show you the first user experience. And again, this will look very familiar to Conga Composer customers. We're gathering the information from this opportunity. We're putting it into a template that you'll see here is our Certify contract, which is Microsoft Word. We've specified as well that the action is going to be Certify. And you'll notice that with that one single parameter, and I'll show that to you here in a moment, that we've pre-specified that the action and the delivery method for this particular document is going to be converted to a PDF, and you'll see that Certify is pre-selected as that delivery method, whereas we have download and email as well. You can also tell here in the Conga Composer 8 user interface that we have that merge button has been changed based on the Certify action that's been selected to say merge and certify. So with that one pre-selection, and I can show that to you here as well on that custom button, this looks very familiar to Conga users. We've got all of our standard information. You'll see that we've pre-selected a template, that Certify contract template, and the one parameter that enables that Certify delivery mode to be pre-selected and that button to change is this overall arching kind of starting parameter that says Certify visible equals 1. What that tells Conga Composer is our delivery of the documents that are created and generated on this solution are going to be delivered via Certify. So if we go back to that page, we'll see the Composer window with Certify, and as we click the Conga Merge button, the information is being gathered from that opportunity, put into that Word template, being converted to a PDF file, and now instead of being delivered back to the user or delivered and attached, what you'll see here is the Create Folder and Add Participants screen from Certify. So we've now completed the Salesforce and Conga Composer pieces, delivered that document, and what we'll be able to see then is this is now all in Certify. We can give this a folder name as a test. We can also add our participants or our signers at this point as well. You'll see we have not pre-selected these. So we'll be able to add those contacts here. We'll do a search and gather a signer. We'll go ahead and use Sylvia Acosta. We'll make her our first signer. We'll attach her contact there. We can also add a contact as well. We'll add a second signer. And we'll choose Violet Duke as our second signer. You'll see here that by default we get 3 initial signers from this particular method of the integration, but we also have a carbon copy signer as well. So what I'm going to do is choose Violet as a carbon copy signer, attach that as well. You could go through and select from contacts also. One key feature that I really wanted to mention when you're thinking from a user perspective or from an admin perspective, that you're able to add contacts from Salesforce at this point in the process manually. You can also add email addresses that are not necessarily connected to a particular Salesforce contact. So you have the flexibility to use not only Salesforce contacts, but also email addresses as well for those other recipients. Okay, we'll go ahead and click Next. This is going to generate the document. Go ahead and create the signing document. Here it's added to this folder. You'll see that this is the Conga document that was generated. We've got our contents as well. We have all of our other options here as well if we wanted to add at this point a related attachment document that's not from the Conga process. You can do that here as a kind of a single one-off process. Okay, so we've created our contents to the folder. We're going to go ahead and send for signature. And what Certify is doing at this point is sending that document to those recipients. We'll return back to our opportunity. I'm going to hop over into my email. And what we'll see is here is the initial document. You'll see since this was coming from Conga, we've been able to customize the email that gets sent to that recipient with our own Conga logo. So in looking at this, you wouldn't necessarily know without a little more examination this is coming from Certify. So it's a really nice way to customize that initial signing process for your recipients. We'll click here to review, and this will take us through the Certify signing process. Laura, if you wouldn't mind hopping in here and just tell me a little bit about, if you want to talk a little bit about Deal Stream, because it's a very unique feature and something that's very different from other e-signature solutions that are out there. And I think it really warrants a mention.
Yeah, absolutely. So what you are looking at, like Chris mentioned, is our deal stream. This is the collaboration piece I had mentioned before. You'll see that it is branded towards you, in this case Conga, obviously. Chris's picture is there, his information as he is the sender of the document. You will see that there's a default message from him stating that, this is a e-sign room if you have any questions. Again, this is used for collaboration, which is really nice. If somebody has questions in regard to the document, you think they're ready to sign, they go into the document and then they can post a question there, and it will go back to the sender via email right away, real time. It also goes back into Salesforce as well, so you have a full audit trail of anything that's been said on this document, which is nice. So sometimes internally, when I'm sending a contract, somebody might say, this, everything looks great. Do you mind changing the terms of Part 2 to, 30 days? So we can kind of use it as a redlining capability. And then it also gives the signer the ability to attach a file if necessary. Sometimes if you're like sending an MSA over and they want you to sign their MSA, they can actually attach a file for you to sign as well. And again, everything goes back into Salesforce. We do have it set up that you can eliminate this feature and just hop right into the document, but again, some people really do like it because it is branded all towards your company, and it gives you, a little bit more personalization in regards to the collaboration piece.
Super, thanks. And also, Laura, I wanted to mention that you can see over here in this deal stream page, you've got the actual document to review and sign. If the recipient wants to add a different participant, a different signer, they can do so at this stage as well. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and just click on review and sign, take you through that process. It's loading the document. You'll see here's the contract and the signing piece, and I'll go ahead and sign here. We'll scroll down, and let's make sure I click on that. I've gone ahead and signed here in this spot, and I'm going to go ahead and click the finish and sign electronically. So that is the extent of it. It's very, very quick, very straightforward, very easy for the that recipient on the signing side. Okay, we'll click OK. This takes us back to the deal stream window. I'm going to go ahead and close this, and we'll go back to our opportunity. I'll close out of the inbox. What you'll see as well is we'll see that there has been a access to those documents. So from a user standpoint, now for this demo, it's a little confusing. I'll apologize to everyone that my email address is being used by the receivers as well as the senders. So not all these emails will be seen by the recipient, but this will let us know when those documents have been accessed, when they've been delivered, if you've been set as a signer. So this is my recipient CC email as well. Okay. I'm going to go back to our opportunity, and the next process, and the one that we just showed now is very, very atypical because most of the time you will have that process and you'll have those kind of parameters and know what that workflow is going to look like as you're building that Conga solution. So that was really just to give you an idea of, from a very basic UI perspective, what that user is going to see, what they're able to do from a Conga and Certify standpoint, and then what the recipient and signers are going to see. What I want to show you now is our predefined solution. And what this solution is a Conga button that will predefine using our composer parameters a fairly typical set of predefinitions for this signing process. The first is we're going to be able to automatically predefine our first and second signers, and in this case we're going to have two different signers. The first signer is going to be set up as our primary contact role. So the primary contact role on this opportunity is going to be our first signer, and we've also looked down into the contact role section and brought up the economic decision maker as our second signer. So with Conga Composer, we're able to, using some queries and some logic within Salesforce and Conga, be able to give a consistent process that, regardless of the opportunity, that the primary contact role and the economic decision maker will all automatically be loaded as your first and second signers. Okay. Again, using Conga Composer, you that are familiar with it, you know we're able to go and get a variety of data, whether it be email addresses, contact IDs, from the account, from contact roles, be able to do that to populate, again, those recipients. We've also specified a file name for this e-contract as well. We built in a output file name as well, so it's naming the Conga file that gets generated. And in this case, we're also going to predefine some of the payment features. We're going to use that certify payment function, and we're going to also pre-specify the name of the payment, the amount which corresponds with the amount of the opportunity, as well as that payment type. So again, same contract, same template, the pre-specified action to send to certify, but now when we merge, what you'll see is those parameters that have predefined and preset that behavior, when we get to the certify screen, what you'll see is we have a folder name and a file name for this folder pre-populated that says Conga contract for 110 technologies and today's date. So we've given it a dynamic folder naming that uses the account name and also today's date. You'll see that it also defaults to signing electronically, and our two first and second signers have been predefined as Melanie Glover, who is our primary contact role on that opportunity, and Casey Cooley, who is our economic decision maker. So that has been preset. I can show you really quickly what that looks like in the Conga button. You'll notice there's the Certify visible, which gives us that initial action that the merge is going to be sent and delivered via our integration with Certify. We'll also see that there's a couple of queries here, and those of you who are familiar with Conga Composer know that we can use queries to go and gather information to use. And in this case, we've developed a couple of SOCL queries that look at the opportunity, and those queries say, I want you to go and bring back the primary contact email address and use it here as my signer1 email. So the results of this query are now being used as our first signer. The second query is looking for the economic decision maker and using that as our second signer. So again, we're utilizing Conga Composer and the functionality of being able to use queries to go and gather, in this case, those two email values from those contact fields, and then be able to pre-populate them in those two signer1 and signer2 emails. Terrific, terrific ability to do that. Not only can we look into that opportunity, but say, for example, you had a name that was associated on the account record. Composer will allow you to use a query to go up through the opportunity, through the account, down into some contact records, and be able to gather that. So depending, again, on that process, depending on what those requirements are, we're going to be able to gather that information to populate those email templates. Okay, there's that folder name, Conga contract for the opportunity account and today. That date, we were able to populate that. In this configuration, we also use a Conga Composer feature that's called OFN, or output file name, to give a name to that actual document that gets attached as part of that e-contract. And this is pure Conga Composer. What we're naming that document is a Conga contract for that account name, and then we're also giving it a date stamp as well. So when you see the document, it'll have some logic. It'll have a date and an account stamp on there as well. All right. You'll notice too, 3 of those new features regarding Certify payments, and we'll see that in a moment. I'll hop back to Composer here. I'm sorry. Hop back to Composer here, and we'll see that as I click Next, we're adding those pieces, and now we have the payment information predefined from those parameters in that Conga button. That we gave it a description. This is the 110 Technologies fees as that payment. We built the amount of that payment to correspond with the opportunity amount, so it automatically populates what that amount is from the opportunity, and we also gave it a one-time as opposed to a monthly fee recurrence. So again, those 3 parameters in Conga Composer told us, give me the name of the payment, so when I see it, when the recipient sees it, it has some logic to it, how much the amount is going to be, and also the type of that payment from Certify. So again, we're able to pre-specify what that is. We add that payment to our folder, and now we've got the signing document associated with it. We've got the payment request. We go ahead and send for signature. That process is all done. I can hop over to the email as the recipient and wait for that to come in. Now we'll see, there's my document. You'll notice now that the document is named Conga Contract for 110 Technologies in today's date. That again was pre-specified. Again, click here to review. You'll see that same deal stream page that Laura mentioned. Here's the review and sign feature. But now you'll notice that there is a payment function here as well. So this allows those users to go ahead and not only review and sign that document, but they can submit payment as well through the PCI through Certify. Laura, are you still on? Do you want to speak a little bit about the payment functionality? Are you able to?
Sure, yeah, I got back on. Yeah, so as Chris mentioned, you'll see that there's a submit payment button. I really like this as well because internally I'll use it if there's different terms of a contract and maybe we give a month away for free. I can actually just send this payment link without a document. So what it does is that we use a gateway, a hosted gateway with your processor. So whatever you're currently using right now, Certify doesn't touch any of the information. It doesn't stay on our servers. It's just we use a gateway that hits your processor and goes, exactly how you're using it right now, which is really nice. So instead of faxing back a credit card number or a rep getting it on the phone and writing it down, we're collecting it all in a PCI compliant manner. It just looks like any other sort of e-commerce type of payment request that pops up and asks for your billing address and your credit card information. They click submit. Everything goes back into Salesforce in regards to saying that the status is paid or outstanding, so all of the activity goes back into Salesforce as well. So, and I can answer specific questions too at the end if anybody has any.
Wonderful.
In regards to the payment.
Great. Laura, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and click submit payment just to see. I'm not sure if we set this up through the payment gateway, but just kind of what that user experience would look like. So there it is. So again, defaults those payment details. So we've got that title that we pre-specified. Shows the payment. I'm working in this Worlds Away org. Gives us the ability to also add some refunds or cancellations, information, anything that is regarding that communication around the payment can be here as well. And this is where you can enter that information and go through the gateway. So really, really slick from a 1 and 2 click process, not only to be able to sign and authorize, say for example, an invoice or a quote or a contract, but also to do the payment at that point as well. I'm going to close that out for now. We'll go back to my final solution built on this opportunity. And this is the one that I mentioned that is the one click. This is using Conga Composer background mode. And what background mode allows admins and users to do is to skip those steps. So skip essentially the Conga Composer user interface. Also go right to the Certify e-contract with those pre-specified values as well. So it becomes a very, very quick, easy, predefined. There's not a opportunity for users to make any changes. When you've got that process, it's very concise and more of an approval process where you think that you don't want to give those users any variables or any freedom to make those changes. This gives the users a very simple, very easy to train and adopt process for generating those documents, sending them through for e-signature and payment. Now, this might be a little anticlimactic because we're not going to see any UIs, but what I want to show you is this process. We're using all of the same parameters as we had above. So we're pre-specifying the signers. What you'll notice is now you get a background mode screen as opposed to that UI screen. We can put a custom message on there, and we did that with a one-click sending with Certify as a background mode message. The same payment information, the same output file name, the same e-contract name as well, but with a specific parameter. And I'll show you what that looks like here. This background mode parameter in Conga Composer, DS7 equals 301. It's a little cryptic, but it's all listed in our documentation. That tells us go ahead and generate the Conga document, send it through the Certify process, create the payment information, create that e-contract, and then dump us out on the actual e-contract detail. So this is the specific e-contract that is related to that opportunity. So Laura, if you want to maybe speak a little bit to the e-contract detail, there's a lot of information here for the users, and really gives those folks in Salesforce a lot of information from the Certify side on the status of those e-contracts. So if you have anything you want to add to this, I think there probably are some things that I would not speak to as well as you could.
Sure, no problem. Yeah, so you'll see what Chris was talking about, the e-documents. You'll see that the kind of status there, it's opened. The sign link, once that's been signed, the status will say signed or partially signed if you have multiple signers. And then if you go down, there's no activities, but at the e-contract activities all the way at the bottom, that's going to show you everything that's going on with the transaction. So if when the signer receives the document, if they've opened it, maybe they've opened it 10 times, it will actually tell you, which is kind of creepy but awesome as far as a salesperson, because you know exactly what's going on in regards to that. You can see if they've opened it, what time, the exact dates, everything. If they posted a question, it will be in there. You can actually go into the detail and it will show you the actual comment. If they reassigned the document to somebody else to sign, that will all be in there. So all of the information related to that one transaction will be back in Salesforce real-time updates, so you know exactly what's going on.
Wonderful. That was exactly what I wanted you to touch on, is all of this information. If we go back to that opportunity, what we'll see in that e-contract is there is that specific e-contract that we were in. It shows, we can click on that. And what we'll see is this is the one we did with the predefined user interface through those screens. And you'll see there are the signers. There's the activities that I was invited, that I accessed the room. I have not signed that yet. It does show the payment that was created that's outstanding. So again, all of this information comes back and resides on that opportunity. So one nice thing about having it as a related list on the opportunity is you can build reports, you could build dashboards, you could build workflows around those e-contract variables as well. So there's a great, just from Salesforce perspective, a great notification and flexibility having those e-contracts reside at the opportunity level. Okay. One thing I did want to change and show you is that one-click process took us right and ended up on the e-contract with a small change to this specific parameter, changing that background mode to 302. Now what we can do is fire off that same process, again, following all those predefined steps, gathering the right template, assigning the primary contact role and that economic decision maker as our signers, creating the document, sending it through the e-contract, creating that e-contract record. Now with that background mode variable that is 302, now what it ends us remain back on that opportunity. So there may be cases when you'd like to see the status of the e-contract, but we give you the opportunity to specify both if you want to have that be on the opportunity at that point or end up on the e-contract for any reference that way. Okay. So again, as we look at that, we're taking that Conga solution and really adding those layers of predefinition to them. So the Certify Visible option tells us what we want to deliver in that process. We're able to then specify those signers. You can use emails as well with Conga, the background mode parameter, and also with the upcoming Conga workflow and Conga conductor versions. You are able to use contact IDs as well. So you could use a combination of email address fields or contact IDs. And then again, be able to have all these pieces predefined. So really a great way of adding the complexity and adding those features that you need for Composer. So that finishes up the demo and the integration. I'm going to go back and ask if we have any questions. All right, let me read through and see. Laura, I've got a couple questions regarding payment. And I wanted to ask question from Jason. Jason, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Is the payment process able to post back information to objects other than the opportunity? So I guess this talks a little bit about um, what the um, what the capabilities are from other Salesforce objects.
Yeah, of course. So we work off of any object or any standard object, any custom object, so it'll work the same way. We just happen to be working off opportunity in that regard. So yeah, it's no issue what object you're sending them off of.
Okay, and that's real similar, Jason, to um, how Conga Composer works. You can initiate and generate those documents to then be delivered via Certify from any custom object, any standard object within Salesforce.com.
I'll also interject real quick on that, Chris, too. Sometimes people, want to give permission to certain people to send out a payment request, so you can put the button in a different object and give permission to somebody. So maybe you have, you want your HR to be able to send out documents for signature as far as like onboarding, but you need your sales reps to send out the payment links, but you don't need your HR to send out payment links. We can set it up so the people with permission have that ability.
Super. And that's all set up from the Certify for Salesforce side.
Correct.
Excellent. Great. Jason has a follow-up. Specifically, can you post back that payment that was made to a custom object? So I'm assuming that, yes, you could see that e-contract status and that the payment was made on that custom object. Again,
Correct.
another question asking about, can these processes be triggered from workflows rather than from user-initiated buttons? And absolutely, we can. I mentioned at the early on the agenda page of this webinar that the Conga Composer automated conductor feature and Conga workflow is currently in beta. So absolutely that same process, Jason, that was initiated by that user can also be triggered by a Salesforce workflow. Okay, wonderful. We wanted to ask also a question from Kirsten Lamphere. Do you have to send a contact only? Can you use custom contact types? Does the eSignature activity live on the contact? So I guess I'm a little bit, let me see if I can kind of elaborate on that. Do you have to send to a contact only? No, you can use a contact record as the recipient, or Kirsten, you can use an email address that does not have a specific connection to that contact. And the eSignature activity, does it live on the contact? So I guess, Laura, if I've got in the example of those two different contacts that were associated, would they have a reference as well to that e-contract, or is that e-contract record just residing on, in our case, the opportunity?
Right, so it's whatever object that you're sending from, such as the opportunity in this case, that's where all the data would be shown.
Okay, so Kirsten, that e-signature activity would reside then on, in this case, the opportunity. If you initiated it from a contact, it would be on there as well. Wonderful. All right. I did have a couple questions. Wanted to find out how you create the signature fields in those templates. And I can speak to that. As you build that Conga Composer template, there are specific Certify signature tags and fields we can embed into that template that correspond with the different signers. So in addition to being able to gather the Salesforce data, we can also put the signing data on there as well. Super. Laura, question about pricing. How do you guys work pricing? As you know, Conga Composer is priced per user. We also do have some service plans for Conga Workflow and Conga Conductor. But can you tell us a little bit about pricing and how they can get a hold of you if they've got questions specifically on initiating a certified trial?
Yeah, absolutely. So our pricing works the same. We do it all by user for our Salesforce integration. We do have a minimum of 5 users, and it starts off. We do match Conga pricing now at $15 a user per month on an annual contract, and you can go to the App Exchange to do a free trial if you want, or you can get a hold of me. I'm not sure if you have my information up there. Chris, but it's just ljohnston@certify.com. I'd be more than happy to give you a quote. We do have some nonprofit discounts. We do a lot of referral agreements. So if you're a consultant on the line, we have some special pricing for that as well. So any information there, you can email me. And again, if you want to start a free trial, you just go to the App Exchange and download it there.
Wonderful. And what we'll do is we'll put Laura's contact information on this slide deck as well when we post the webinar. So we are running a little bit late. My apologies. Thank you all very much for the great questions. Laura, thank you so much for your time and details on the Certify side. We thank you all for your participation.